Record. All righty. Well, morning, everybody. We got fire safety and prevention at work this morning, and I also cover a little bit of stuff about the house as well. Um, we'll get into it for this month, November of 2024. Well, I said we would. There we go. All right. So real quick, cover the fire triangle thing. Of course, best way to do it is eliminate said fires, but if we can't eliminate them, we got hazards, got to mitigate those hazards. Then we got boss man, company, employers' responsibilities, some of your responsibilities, what you're supposed to be doing. We'll talk about a little electrical safety, outlet safety, extension cord safety. And then last but not least, we'll cover our fire extinguisher training. And then everybody will be up to snuff on it. Have a good, safe rest of the year, good, safe holiday season, whole 9 yards, right? So, real quick, when it comes to the fire triangle, it's what I equate to three-legged stool, right? Uh, you take one leg away, said stool is not going to stand, it's going to fall. You remove one of these three things right here, no fire, no problem, right? That's eliminating a hazard if we can. But obviously, y'all know as well as I do, whether it be uh, copier plugged in, overheating, something catches fire, to customer throws a cigarette in a trash can in the lobby, to sparks from a grinder, in a mechanic shop, oily rags, to uh, wire falling, catching a hayfield on fire, right? We've got several opportunities to run into said problem, and we can eliminate those things. So we got to learn how to mitigate them, how to fight them. Obviously, best thing to do that we can have some control over: outlets, cords, cables, where you plug stuff into, how those cords are made, or not how they're made, but how they're maintained, whole 9 yards. We need to do everything we can to prevent these kind of things from happening. That's what we have control over. That's what we're going to try to do. Obviously, try to remove anything combustible away from said electrical equipment, right? Like that. Um, I believe it's at NESC rule. Like you got breaker panels, breaker boxes. Nothing's supposed to be in front of them. 3 foot, supposed to have nothing in front of them, and 3 foot, some kind of thing like that. Uh, if you got torpedo heaters you're using to keep warm, kerosene heaters, just electrical heaters in general, you don't want to put this stack of papers or files or anything like that for some strange reason something could happen. Next thing you know, catches everything on fire. Obviously, if you do have heaters out there, whether it be in the warehouse, whether somebody's got one of them little plug-in heaters underneath their desk to keep their feet warm, toes warm, don't leave that stuff unattended on for no reason, right? All it takes is one little thing to go wrong, major problem. Obviously, right? We do the lovely month of February where we do bloodborne pathogens and right to know in that emergency action plan. Part of that emergency action plan, we get talking about sprinklers, smoke alarms, fire drills, whole 9 yards. And I assume that, you know, um, uh, y'all probably get in with the fire department, something like that. Everybody sort of gets on the same page, and the phone calls go to a certain spot, and this works a certain way. Uh, Big thing also is, and this is something that you could take home with you. I'm not talking just necessarily at work. Make sure you know your fire exits. Make sure you know how to get out of said building. It's been years and years ago. We had a guy come down. I don't know if he was like a retired Navy vet and DEA agent, marshal, or something like that. It was sort of a mixture of a active shooter, emergency response kind of stuff. But he said something that stuck with me, and that was know your exits. As a dad, right? Even going on vacation to the beach or to the mountains, you don't understand how vitally important it is to know how to get out of said building, because now you have either your wife, your husband, your kids, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your nephews, nieces. If you think you could just open a door and walk out, you're going to be sadly mistaken. Trust me, I've been in burning buildings. You cannot see, you cannot breathe. You are going to be flat on your stomach on the floor trying to get out of there, and you are going to be wigging out. Trust me. I know when I get to a hotel how many doors it is before I get to the stairwell because you're going to be on your belly crawling, and I count doors as I go crawling down through there and know how to get out. That stuff is vitally important, not for just at work on how to get out, because not only you have to get out, you might have to help make sure your uh, coworkers get out. Maybe you've got customers in the lobby. Maybe you've got disabled customers, somebody in a wheelchair in the lobby. You got to know how to get people out of there, right? So it's vitally important that you understand what you need to do, all right? Obviously, don't block escape exits. That's pretty obvious and easy. But a lot of times we get busy. Somebody has a pallet, has a crate, has some kind of decorations or something and wants to stick it over here or pile it over there. It's no big deal until it piles up enough that now you can't see the exit signs. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to get out. A lot of times, too, per OSHA and everything else, certain exits have to accommodate certain number of folks. Um, they can't be like the key card kind of exits to where you have to swipe something to get out. They should be like the bump bars that anybody and their brother could get out of. Obviously, when it comes to electrical safety, right? Same difference here. Use it at work, use it at the house. Little power strips, don't overload them, right? Just because you can plug in six things don't mean you need to plug in six things and turn everything on, right? I mean, it's just I don't know. And also, I had a video a while back where somebody plugged in like seven different power strips into each other and ended up catching them on fire. If those little power strips, they should have some kind of internal overload protection. If they do, don't tape that button down. Don't take that fuse out and put a piece of copper in there. It's there for a reason. It's their protection, right? So don't circumvent that protection. If it's tripping for a reason. Maybe something is damaged. Maybe something's defective. Look into that part of it. Don't just try to make it work and then something catch on fire. All right. Obviously, with cords, whether you're putting, decorations up at the office, plugging in chargers for battery operated tools, don't run cords around, doorways where they can get pinched or closed in, get skint, hanging them from different areas and, putting screws and nails around them is not a good idea. You don't want to damage those cords. Sort of the same difference with outlets, of course, right? You can buy one of them doodaddies off of Amazon that you plug into an outlet and it's got like 10 outlets on it. Obviously, I mean, they can make and sell anything they want, but got to be smart enough to know that there's probably a reason why this outlet only has two outlets, right? Two receptacles. So use the appropriate number. Um, Also, don't go down to the dollar store or Family Dollar or whatever it is, your local neighborhood little store, and get one of those white or green or brown extension cords that if it only takes two, right? Two and not three prong plug, don't cut the little top of it off to where you can stick a plug in there and the grounding lug is on the outside or break off the grounding lug. There is a reason, right, that the manufacturer specifically made it this way, i.e., just like a minute ago, don't circumvent the safety. Use the appropriate plug, the appropriate cord, the appropriate spot. Um, Not to mention, if you got to, sometimes with stuff getting sort of plugged in and left for a long time, maybe it accidentally got snatched out, got pulled to the side. Things don't really plug in quite as well. That doesn't mean you just pinch the prongs and shove it back in there. Which if you got tamper resistant stuff, it's impossible almost. You might need to replace that socket or that receptacle. And of course, obviously, make sure everything's fully plugged in and inserted. With high amperage stuff, uh, maybe you've got dishwasher, uh, fridge, microwave, washer and dryer, maybe office area, um, and warehouse, mechanic shop. You've got air compressors, anything pull a heavy load, especially if y'all ever and y'all might have electrical charging stations for the EVs and stuff. I can tell you, them bad boys pull a lot of amperage, right? The higher that amperage, depending on the size of the wire, tells you what kind of impedance, what kind of resistance you got. Smaller the wire, more impedance, harder it is that amperage to get through, the harder it has to push, hotter it gets. Just how it works. Use the appropriate size for the appropriate job, right? You got a long extension cord you need to run something, you need to get a bigger size wire, right? Use the appropriate size, appropriate extension cord, appropriate, wire for the job. Whether you got lamps, light fixtures, don't, take a shirt off, or, if you got wet or a jacket or something like that, and hang it over um, a lamp area or something like that, because it's going to dry off quicker. Well, of course, we get busy, forget about it. Next thing you know, we're causing a fire. Um, Appliance wise, even from, like I said, microwave, fridges, air compressors, whatever it is, if something ain't working right, don't temporary it. Don't just sort of make it work, right? Trust me, I guarantee the company would be a whole lot happier as opposed to trying to figure out and do an insurance claim for a couple $1 million for a building, because this appliance right here, we always had to tape down the reset button because it wouldn't ever work for too long, right? They'd much rather just replace that said piece of equipment, right? This goes from, oh, I don't know why it skips over there that fast, but it does. I'll go back real quick. Y'all are not firefighters. Well, you might be on the side. I don't know. Could be volunteer fire rescue. If you are, cool beans. But typically you ain't firefighters, right? Which means that you get a call for a job like this, that little 5 or 10 pound fire extinguisher ain't gonna work. All right. So understand, you need to know your limitations, right? You call in the big boys, you call in the fire department. Yes, they need heroes too, but you call them in. You need to make sure to inform. You need to make sure to inform said fire department if the line is hot or dead, right? That's the reason why they call us at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning when they have house fires, is exactly for this reason. This might, hold on. Where's that little button? There it is. There we go. All right. When you bust out that fire extinguisher, you got classifications. Class A, ordinary, everyday, run of the mill, trash can, paper, wood, that kind of stuff. B, you get into flammable liquids. Of course, obviously, we carry gas, oil, hydraulic fluid, uh, all that kind of stuff around in vehicles, whole 9 yards. Class C, we get into electrical equipment. Type D, those right there, Class D, are combustible metals, magnesium, phosphorus, all that kind of cool stuff. Typically, what we have, most of the time, it'll say meets or exceeds Class A, B, and C, which will cover everything from A, B, and C, right? I can tell you where I come from. Make sure that you use the appropriate one for the appropriate job. You have an oil fire or something along them lines, but this might be loud. I'll mute it as soon as I turn it on. Oil fire, just like you have an oil fire at the house, if you're frying chicken or something, smother it if you can, old blanket, something like that, throw it over it. If you're going to use an extinguisher, back up and use it. By you blowing into it like that with that pressurized air, you're just aerosolizing that oil, which means that you get that perfect mixture of oil and air, and now you have essentially created a major problem. So make sure you use the appropriate extinguisher for the appropriate job. All right. Our lovely country has made it to where you don't necessarily have to even be literate in English to know what these things do. Instead of having to read A and then ordinary combustibles, we use a pictogram, right? Trash can, wood. That means that somebody can see this, goes, hey, this is wood. This thing right here obviously says it can do wood. Same thing with the gas fire, same thing with electrical. They can understand the pictograms. I mean, even the NESE done it for, pictures on the outside of a substation for the warning signs and stuff. So makes it easier for everybody to get it, know what this piece of equipment does, and be able to use it. Real quick, talking about actual usage. Usage is pretty easy. We use that pass method, right? We pull the pin, we aim at the base of the fire, squeeze that trigger, and we sweep back and forth. Easiest way in the world, all right? I can tell you, best thing you can do if you see maybe a little trash can on fire, something like that, maybe the carpet caught on fire over here because, a customer threw a cigarette down or something. You can use fire extinguisher to put it out. But if you turn the corner and you got a whole room on fire, you probably ain't gonna be able to do nothing with it. That's when you go into not panic mode, by the way. No, it's not time to panic yet. Now it goes into, hey, we need to get everybody out of this building. We need to call 911. We need to get the fire department on the way. That's what you need to do, right? Only use that fire extinguisher if you can actually put it out. Don't use it up in there, run outside, and then somebody runs out 5 minutes later on fire, and you go, man, I wish I had a fire extinguisher. Save it, take it out there with you. You might be able to do something for somebody. If it is on fire, drop, stay low, hug that wall, know where them exits are, find your fire alarm, pull it, sprinklers ought to kick in, whole 9 yards, right? Once again, pass method. Pull the pin, aim at the base of that fire, sweep back and forth, or I'm sorry, squeeze the lever, then sweep back and forth, right? Pretty easy, no big deal. If you use a leaf blower at the house, same kind of difference. Also, sort of last but not least here, when it comes to fire extinguishers, you need to make sure you inspect them, right? Make sure they're in good working order. Make sure they're where they're supposed to be, whether they're hanging on the wall, in a truck. And when I say in a truck or in a company vehicle, SUV, they shouldn't be all the way in the back underneath the little thing where the spare tire is. You want it to where everybody knows where it is. There should be a sticker somewhere that sort of points to it, says fire extinguisher, just like you should have a sticker for a first aid kit, sticker for an AED kind of thing. Don't throw it behind the seat of the truck. Have coveralls and winter jackets for 4 different people over top of it. Easy to get to. Check it off every month. Make sure that little needle's in the green. Granted, it's a pressurized unit, so summertime it might be pushing the top of the green. Wintertime it might be pushing the bottom of the green, just how it pressurizes. But make sure it's actually charged and ready to use. Because I can personally tell you, nothing feels better than getting called out, midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, fire department. Hey, we got a pole on fire. You show up looking like a hero, boom up, like, ah, I got this, and go, and nothing happens. You look down, and your fire extinguisher was used 2 weeks prior by the other guy on call, and he forgot to replace it. It's not his fault, though, right? I ain't blaming nobody because me being the guy on call, it's like any of y'all that drop off mail, take money off somewhere, go pick up donuts, go pick up coffee in that company vehicle. I don't care if it's an SUV, I don't care if it's a bucket truck. You need to pre-trip that bad boy. You need to make sure the fire extinguisher's in there and charged. I didn't do that right. That's on me. Same kind of thing. It's on you, it's on your employer or employee to have everything you need when that emergency happens, right? The company's got to provide it, but you got to make sure it's there before you take off with it. So, of course, anything broken, missing, tampered with, get rid of it, replace it, tell somebody about it. And of course, obviously, don't block access to a fire extinguisher. Last but not least, that three-legged stool we talked about, We try to eliminate fire hazards if we can, but we live in this big, beautiful world we do, and stuff happens. Weird stuff happens. So best thing for us to do is know how to deal with said problem. That's why we do our emergency action planning, why we do our training on that, why we talk about the pass method on how to use the fire extinguishers, where they're at, how to get out of the building, uh, doing, muster locations and all that good stuff. Whether you be at the house or whether you be at work, electrical safety, outlet safety, those big appliances, uh, all that stuff comes into play. Christmas lights to, frying turkeys. Make sure you do the appropriate things with the appropriate gauge, size, type of wire, cord, appliance that you have. Don't put yourself in a pickle, right? Don't put yourself in a pickle. So that right there is what I've got for this month over fire safety and prevention. Let's